Parents, what's the best lesson you ever taught your kid? My daughter was 16 when she fell in love with a cherry red Jeep that someone had parked across the street from her school. She stared at it the way some people look at sunsets. Later that night, she showed me a listing. It was used, but still in great condition, and the price had already dropped twice. She said it like fate had done her a personal favor. The price was $7,200. I said we could have a conversation, and she asked if that meant I was thinking about it. I told her I was, but I'd be thinking about it as a lender. The next morning, I handed her a folder titled Vehicle Ownership Proposal. Inside was a full breakdown of everything she would need to cover to make the car truly hers. I included everything from interest rates to insurance estimates and a line item labeled Unexpected Chaos, which accounted for things like emergency towing, surprise repairs, and the emotional collapse that comes with watching your savings disappear in one afternoon. She read through the packet without saying much. At one point, she looked up and asked if she really had to pay for gas. I said yes. I also said that tires need to be replaced, brakes wear down faster than you think, and most mechanics will not accept gratitude as a valid form of payment. We made a deal that I would cover half the cost if she could earn the other half on her own. If she wanted that Jeep, she had to get her hands dirty. She got hired as a busser at a diner off the highway, where she spent her weekends stacking sticky menus and pretending not to hear people's complaints about lukewarm coffee. She picked up pet-sitting jobs and spent entire afternoons getting dragged down the block by golden retrievers named Max. She charged $5 a page to proofread her classmates' essays, and more than once I caught her editing papers in the passenger seat while I drove her between jobs. She kept a notebook where she logged every dollar she earned. The first few pages were neat and color-coded, but by the end of the month, the handwriting looked like it was from someone on the verge of a nervous breakdown. One afternoon, she walked in, dropped her apron on the counter, and told me she'd earned a grand total of $93 in 2 weeks. She held up 2 expired Chuck E. Cheese tokens and a granola bar. That was her tip. I asked if she wanted to keep going. She told me she was too far in to stop. By the time she had saved $670, the Jeep was gone to another buyer. I expected disappointment, maybe even a little heartbreak, but she just said, I guess it wasn't meant to be. She said she still wanted a car, but maybe one that didn't make her wince quite as much when she thought about the cost. 5 months later, she found a used car listed by a retired mechanic in the next town over. It wasn't cute and it wasn't even red. The interior smelled faintly like burnt toast, and one of the cup holders had been taped back together with medical gauze. But the engine was strong, the tires were new, and the price was right. She called me from the lot and said she had found her car. When I arrived, she had already negotiated the price down and filled out the paperwork. She handed over her cash and then looked at me to see if I still planned to match it. With what she'd saved and her stellar negotiating, she actually didn't even need me to, but I pulled out my wallet without missing a beat. She'd earned it. Once the keys were in her hand, she opened the driver's side door and sat behind the wheel with the reverence of someone who understood exactly what it had taken to get there. She turned to me and asked how soon she should start setting aside money for oil changes. I told her she had already done the hard part. She had learned to separate desire from value, and she had done it without making a single excuse. That lesson would last longer than the car. She pulled into traffic, stalled once at the light, and then drove the rest of the way home with both hands on the wheel and her chin held high.